Since chapter 365, the plot of Berserk has been on a dreadful sorrow vibe. Now, while the series is known for delving into dark and depressing themes, melded with cinematic action sequences and playful moments in the panels to balance the feels, the last 5 chapter entries have held a steady pace to counter the low-key chapters prior. I have to say, the recent 2 chapters have peaked almost in comparison to the very first major eclipse taking place in the Golden Age. While 369 has already been reviewed to death, I was away on vacation with the family and therefore couldn't give my take on time. Luckily, due to both chapter lengths and the amount of content provided, you could say that both in a way should have been one chapter. So I say this because both chapter 369 and 370 in a sense should have been one, same as I felt that 365 and 366, then 367 and 368 should have been consolidated. Now let's get it. Yo. As we all know, upon the end of chapter 368, everyone was left with a sense of despair. Characters in the story and readers alike, because, to be honest, we've never really seen Guts in such a state. Especially in 369 as we open to Farnese and SHHHIIEEE calling out to Guts who has fallen between the openings in the ground. Watching Guts pretty much go through or just simply having a nervous breakdown due to the fact that he was helpless, especially in a situation he should have had the upper hand in compared to the past, where the one constant reassurance he had in life failed him in the moment he could not afford to. He couldn't strike his enemy, couldn't harm them, and all his efforts were for nothing as the one person he swore to protect and never lose again had been lost, carried away by his arch nemesis. But on top of all that, the one thing in his life he had trust in has failed him, his sword, the Dragon Slayer. We can see how this has left Guts' mind on the brink of being broken. There's no rage, no resolve to fight fate, no will to make way to Falconia to rectify what has happened, only acceptance of reality to the situation, that he can't do anything. We can see how this is affecting him. The heavy breathing and frustration that he displays after Griffith has flown away with Casca, in disbelief that not one single sword swing was able to harm Griffith. It's likely in the moment where the string of hair that Guts witnessed he was able to cut was likely Griffith playing with his emotions, giving him a false sense of hope in order to have the opposite end result be the case, messing with Guts' mind. Even in the next chapter, as everyone has been rounded to board the ship to leave Elfhelm, Morda, Roderick, and SHHHIIEEE are steadfast worried about Guts' state. Not only worried for his mental, but in fear for the other passengers' safety should Guts go berserk while wearing the armor. I mean, due to history and personal experience, they are within their rights to have that mind state at the moment. On the other side, locked up in a separate quarter, is Guts, frozen, puzzled, and in a sense, confronting his sword as if it's a living entity, as if they're both staring at one another in disbelief. Then, out of exhaustion, both Guts and Dragon Slayer fall backwards onto the floor. A moment later, Guts opens his eye as he reflects on how he had nothing and no one, and that his sword was there as a source of strength that he can channel and grasp at the end of it all. It's almost poetic how the final statement in a chapter, a faint light lost in the dark, comes after a panel of past instances involving Guts and his swords, all shining in illuminated scenes after a victorious moment of battle. But this time, only a faint light shines upon Dragon Slayer, as he just lost his battle, an extremely crucial one. On the other hand, we had the rest of the supporting cast, whom had to find their way into safety during the reckoning of Elfhelm. Femto's exit has caused a catastrophic cataclysm, leaving the magically protected landmass in a state that only 35% of the island remains. While all the sailors scramble at the shores to safety with the help of the Merrills, the seawater is aiding in slowing down and dissolving the malice that was attempting to devour any living creature on the island. Roderick makes it on board safely and proceeds to be the direction to the directionless, making sure that all the men are doing what must be done to secure safety of all the civilians trapped in the rapids or on the island. What's interesting here is that it seems the cherry blossom tree at the center of the island seems to have fallen to the sea, and it causes some sort of eruption in the water. But I could be wrong in my presumption, it could be something else. But after this occurrence, this causes a chain reaction to all the fantastical beings on and in the vicinity of Elfhelm to also wither away from the material plane, evident by Danan's final words here. This causes the woodland creatures, the fairies, and even the marrow to disappear from the world, meaning that even Isma had to go as well, leaving Ishijo in a distraught and traumatized state. But I'm unsure why they are disappearing. Was it because Elfhelm was their anchor to this world? If that was the case, then why did Isma and the marrow disappear? They weren't originally inhabitants of the Elfhelm, then again, if the fantastical beings that were inhabitants of the island were disappearing, why are Puck, Evilira, and Hanar still lingering around after? It could also have to do with the fact that Puck and Evilira were away from the mainland for a very long time, because we can see Puck's siblings disappearing. Moving on to 370, where it's shown that all the remaining humans are being secured, including the wizards, witches, and the young mages all on board Roderick's ship. The toll of losing their home and sense of temporary peace after Femto's unexpected attack has taken a toll on everybody. The whole crew was down, especially after Farnese's little outburst, but it took Morda interrupting and giving them a sense of purpose by asking them to help heal the injured passengers. Even in informing them that Guts was brought on board earlier and how he seems to be in a broken state, which alerts Shirke to take priority, making sure Guts is in one piece before he may or may not go berserk. It's ironic, because usually Morda is portrayed as the reckless and irresponsible member of the Young Witches. But it's kind of refreshing to see that she took on the mature response to such a serious situation, actually putting others' needs and well-being before hers and showing concern for Guts of all people. This is because she sees how important he is to Shirke. Even Roderick, although concerned with the safety of all who are on board his ship, is also worried about Guts' state of mind as he bangs on the door to the room to make sure that he doesn't do anything stupid. So, reading these last two chapters, it has become very clear that they should be consolidated. As the Berserk fanbase that are dedicated to reading the material, we're already conditioned to media's hiatuses, so waiting a little while longer, presumably an extra month to get more pages to a chapter would not be a problem. Plot-wise, I'm a bit distraught, but also appreciative because I'm being forced to accept a perspective about Guts I did not expect. It's a reality that media possibly did not have the chance to delve into this. This is a side of Guts that we haven't seen since the early years of the Black Swordsman arc, where him showing emotion has nothing to do with rage, impatience, or exhaustion, but this is explicitly about his bottled up emotions. On top of the fact that he could not get close to Kasuga without her mind going out of whack, he is now forced to deal with the fact that she has been taken away from him and will possibly never get her back simply because he doesn't have the means to secure her safety anymore. Adding on to the fact that a full swing 180 has been made to the mood of the plot course, where despair has taken place of the hopefulness that chapter 364 and the prior chapters gave. I'm a bit excited to see what is to come in a chapter 371 since it will be coming in December instead of early next month. This will allow the creators more time to invest in making the latest chapter, and us time to marinate and speculate what is to come next. Now I'm wondering what happened to the Skull Knight after the events of the Cataclysm, because I'm pretty sure it would take way more than that for him to be defeated. Now that Gedfrey and the Elder Sages lost their homes and are on board with the younger mages, I wonder how they will be involved in the oncoming portion of the story back on the mainland. Lastly, what is most interesting for me, and I presume this is the case, that Hanar and the dwarves are also now accompanying the crew, which means Guts will have the creator of the Berserk armor on hand to make modifications to better suit how he uses the armor. Or maybe Hanar would craft him a new set of armor that does not sap his life force, but better yet give him stat boots at no cost. With a combination of Gedfrey and Hanar's magical modifications to the Dragon Slayer are a possibility now, in order for Guts to battle apostles and possibly harm members of the God Hand. It took some time, but 369 and 370 combined have opened up my mind to the possible future of this series and where it can be taken. What are everyone's reactions to what has transpired, and what do you anticipate for chapter 371? I look forward to reading what you all think in the comment section after dropping a like for your boy and subscribing to the channel to stay locked in for new Berserk content on the horizon. You know the vibes, it's Kaizoku Sleven. Appreciate you.